Hey gang, you know it's I've taken about 5 months off, so I've got to be a little rusty chatting a little bit here. But as Al said, I ran for Commissioner of Agriculture against John McMillan, who's Commissioner now, and Dorman Grace. He was the dummy in the commercial. You know, it's something that, let me get down. I got little points here. I had about 15 pages. What I've done, as soon as Kathy finishes it, is I got a blog. Now, I just learned how to spell that, okay? So, and the blog, and the name of it is Straight Talk, Agriculture Straight Talk. And as you can tell, I've been an old Marine, been a cop, been a businessman, and I've been a farmer. I've done a little bit of it all. I'm an old fart too.
Are you still raising crazy birds?
I got crazy birds. You know, it's Kathy. When we used to own Pets America, that chain of pet stores, and Kathy got certified in birds, so that's why we had all the birds. And then people say, well, is she certified? I said, she's a certified bird brain, let me tell you. But did everybody get enough to eat tonight? Hey, that's good. You know what a GMO is? Did you get enough GMOs tonight? Well, let me tell you, it's I wrote an article, and it'll be up on the website. It's kind of long, and it's titled, is it a duck or is it a GMO that looks like a duck? And what it boils down to, you know, we're being attacked on all fronts. It's not just what you can see out there. It's what you can eat. You heard Cam say earlier on, and some of the others, that they control the food, they control you. And they're controlling the food. Because what we're looking at is there's a real big difference these days in what's out there. Did you know that 80% of the food in the country, well, let's just back up a minute. Let me back up. How many of you know what a GMO is? It's genetically modified organism, or genetically engineered. And what that is when you take, here, I've got the real scoop here. This sucker's touchy, let me tell you. I had this whole article, but I didn't have time for that. But the way they, told you I don't know for it, there. The way they explain a genetically engineered, the term is genetic engineering enables scientists to create plants, animals, and microorganisms by taking genes from one species and manually inserting them into another species with the goal of adding one or more new traits that do not exist in that species naturally. Well, give you an example of that. They're taking an Arctic flounder and that has non-freezing capability, and injecting it into tomatoes and strawberries for frost damage. Now, how do you like your tomatoes and strawberries today? They look like one. They don't taste much like them, and they don't smell much like them, and there's not much to them, and there's certainly not any nutrition in there. So you've heard all your life, eat your fruits and vegetables. They're good for you. Well, and you look at the other part of it, and it says, well, you know, eat your fresh fruits and vegetables. Do you know that from the time it is picked and harvested to the time within 5 days, you've lost over 60% of the nutrition in there? And then when you cook it, you lose even more. So can you imagine, just think for a second. Once it's picked, how long does it take to get to the store? How long does it take to get bought, put on your table? And how long does it take to get in your tummy? So by eating your fruits and vegetables, it's going to be hard to do anything. Well, what has happened is you have organics come along. Now, there's three kinds of farming. There's organic farming where they use no GMOs, no pesticides or chemicals. You have traditional farming where you use pesticides and GMOs and chemicals. And then you have traditional farming where you don't use any GMOs, you think, and GMO seed. So what you have are those three type of farming. So you have organic. Is organic better for you than with GMOs? Think for a minute. Think for a minute. It may be natural and it may be a heritage seed. So here's what you look at. How is it grown? What kind of fertilizer are you using? You using just regular animal waste, that sort of thing? Well, if you are, did you know that 80% of the corn and cotton in this country, it comes from GMO seed that the well, actually only one company makes it, Monsanto, and they license it to DuPont and those others, and Bayer. All right, if you have GMO seed out there making corn, and all the corn is that, and you feed it to chickens. Now, if the old adage is, if you are what you eat, what do you have in the chicken? First, there you go. So then you spread it over your organic food, the plants out there in your garden, and you grow organic with it. What you got? I'm trying to show you a loop here, and it's a tough one. I mean, it really is. So what we're looking at is by having the GMO seed and soybeans, and not only that, there's 60% of the processed food in this country is processed with GMO products, and nearly 80% of all food in the country has GMOs in it. Now, are GMOs bad for you? Well, there's no information on it, right? You have what is it? Countries. There's all of Europe and over 50 other countries require strict labeling that lets you know it's GMO seeds or GMO in there. And that includes China and India and all the places you wouldn't think about, you know. Even Russia. There was a study done, a French study done that connects corn, GMO corn, directly to cancer.
Tell me later.
And Russia outlawed it completely. No GMO corn in Russia, period. So here we are over here. We have all the abundance of corn in the world. We have all this GMO food, and we're not sure about it, but yet they won't label it. Now get this. The government, FDA, USDA, considers GMO seeds to be substantially equal to natural seeds. So they say labeling is not required. How is that possible? It's not possible. If it's substantially equal to normal seeds, regular seeds, then why do they have a patent on it? For cotton, for corn, for soybeans. You got to be different, don't you? Okay. Well, there's no labeling requirements. Organic people, they have to jump through hoops to get organic put on the label. And we only have in Alabama, we only have one organic farmer. And he had to go to Florida to get his certification. We don't have anybody here that does it. They don't do it down at the Department of Ag. I don't know why. Well, And you back up and you look at the meat that we're going through here and the meat that we eat, the chickens. I mean, when I was growing up, saw chickens out in the yard, I mean, their feet could hold them up. Now they got breasts so big, it's just, they look like turkeys. And have you seen turkeys lately? You know, is that normal? Does that look normal to you guys? You know, it's this is a spiral that we're in. So if you can put Arctic properties from a fish into a tomato, what else can you put into that seed?
Anything they want.
People have been talking about, you know, there's a kale seed out there to be used anytime. We don't know that. You know, there's so much thrown at us these days that we're suspicious of everything. And we need to be. Well, you know, with the you look at the meat that we're eating. Now listen, there's no meat products today that are directly injected with GMOs. There's about to be one released with USDA and FDA, and that is freshwater salmon. Now, fish food is made from corn and other products. So you feed that to your fish. Now you got a salmon that grows twice the size of regular salmon in half the time once they inject these things. Well, now would that be a double dose of GMOs? Because you got to eat something, then you got to inject at the same time. So what I'm saying, guys, we're in a crunch right here. What do we do to preserve life? Why do you think there's, you know, in GMOs came on the market in 1992. Since then, have y'all noticed what you call, people get sicker, they have allergies. I didn't recognize that many allergies when I growing up. I'd run around barefooted out there catching bees from the jar, you know. So they got allergies and sickness and things, and you say, well, it's not connected to GMOs. Well, there's no labeling. Why is there no labeling? They fight like hell to keep the labeling off of there. Well, two things. One, if there's no label that says it's GMO in it, it's hard to get the lawyers who would know that. Where'd he go? He left, all right. And then the lawyers would know about that, because if you can't directly tie it to a GMO, then you can't sue, you see? Another thing, it's very profitable. So what you're looking at here is an intentional failure to communicate. Totally. And that puts a hardship on us. You know, you have to fight like the devil to keep your waistline down. Mine blows up and down. I've lost 1,000 pounds in the last, few years. So what we have is a part of the government that is not only issuing the food stamps out there to everybody to eat more of these things, you see, but also a part of it that seems to be killing farming in America. When I was running, I talked to an old cotton farmer up in North Alabama. And, no, it wasn't. He was harvesting soybeans. I walked out in the field. I said, I'm Dale Peterson. I'm running for Commissioner of Agriculture. What? So, what are you doing out here? Farmers don't elect a commissioner, by the way. It's all people in those departments over there that don't know squat about farming. So, anyway, and I said, well, what can I do to help you if I get elected? What do you need? He says, no one's ever asked me that in politics before. I said, well, here I am. I'm not much of a politician. I wouldn't be out here, but, He said, I'd really rather grow cotton. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, can't afford to grow cotton. We used to do 2.3 million acres in Alabama. We used to be cotton capital. We squat now, nothing. We'll do good to do 300,000 acres this year. But anyway, I said, why? He said, well, a bag of seed costs, what, $100 a bag. Say it again, Kathy? No, it wasn't. It was $100. Well, you know. Yes, ma'am. So anyway, after 34 years, you figured this out, okay? So anyway, it was 500, wasn't it?
There you go.
All right. See, I don't want to work that one out. But anyway, I said, well, I don't understand that. He says, you know, they sell the same sack of seed down in Brazil for $50. I said, you got to be kidding me. He said, no. So I, not knowing any differently, I went back to the house, got on the phone, picked up the phone, called Monsanto. Got a hold of some guy, some VP and some kind of public relations stuff. And I asked him, I said, is this true? He said, yes, it is. I said, well, why are you selling the same seeds made up here down there for $500? And you selling them down there for $50. And you know, he told me, he says, we sell the seed for the most money to the people who need it the most. I said, you know, I'm just no country boy, but I can figure a little bit here. So what you're saying is, if we had another Katrina, and you were selling bottled water, normally selling it for $1. So when all those people needed water down there, you gonna up it to $50 a bottle? He hung up. Didn't get him back either. So they don't want anybody questioning, and I still believe that that's the responsibility of the Ag Department in Alabama, is to take care of, they talk about food safety. You heard anybody talk about GMOs, any of that stuff out of the department? You won't either. It's controversial, and I don't like to do that, you see. May cost a vote here or there. So anyway, and that's what politicians do. Let me tell you, everything you've always heard about politicians is absolutely true. The biggest scumbags you ever seen in your life. Well, let me tell you, they are. They are. Because for all these years, you know, I didn't even want to rub up against a politician. You get nasty. You know, there's something there. But that is exactly, now don't get me wrong, there's probably a couple of good ones. They hadn't, but there's a couple of good ones out there. Now, where'd Cam go? So anyway, guys, what it boils down to, the bottom line is, it is practically impossible to get the nutrition that you need on a daily basis from eating food and fresh fruit and vegetables. You can't do it. There's nothing in there. You don't even know if the ground was any good if it was grown in. You don't know squat about it. But the labeling thing is that's something that I wish Cam was here, because there's been several states have tried to put labeling on the product, and they get defeated every time. California, you know how those guys are. They wanted labeling. They want labeling on everything. Well, they tried to get labeling for GMOs on most of the GMO products. Monsanto and DuPont and the other ones right there spent $4.3 million on a massive media campaign. Lies. Now in politics, you can say anything you want to. It's up to the other guy to prove you wrong, you see, because I was Herman Cain's national chairman for his agriculture advisory committee, and I went all over the country, everywhere, and talked to people everywhere, talked to politicians everywhere. It was just for 6 months or so there. But what it boils down to is Alabama could do this. We have what it takes in Alabama to lead the way. If we had someone, I'd be willing to push it if I had a politician that put it on the plate out there, and for labeling. And if we get the labeling, people say, well, you know, the reason they don't want the labeling is that it might say contains genetically modified organisms.
Right.
Would you buy that? You know, think about that. So we had California, and they got defeated. We need it on the ballot here somehow. And what you got, Vicky?
Well, I kept up with what happened in California that makes me sick. Any idea, would Alabama be more likely, do you think, that we could actually get that done here than what California
Well, yeah, I do, because see what happens. California is the largest farming state in the country. Most people don't know that. It is. And there was more to lose in California than it is Alabama, even though we farm a pretty good bit down here. So I think it is because, first of all, we're a red state now, big time. Second of all, we have, or they say, we have more conservatives down here in Montgomery than we used to. But we have more conservatives in the state. So I think if somebody pushed it and we got it on the ballot, we did get the fish stuff, the country of origin. You know, if anybody knows how catfish are grown in Vietnam, you'll know why we needed it. Okay? So anyway, we got that, and I believe we could push it through. Now, I'm not sure the department would do anything because it's controversial, but if I could get a politician to put it on there, I'd push it. I'd go all over the state talking about it. It's needed. I mean, we need to, if we don't take, they're killing us. Literally killing us. So, by the year 2050 rolls around, there'll be 9 billion people to feed. How? Or will GMOs have kicked in by then? Think about that, gang. Any questions?
Bill again.
Oh yeah, you still, yeah, big guy.
Bill, I got a question. Most average Joes shop at Walmart, Purdue groceries, and other places like that.
I do too.
And you got Purdue in there, you got Tyson. I watched the thing on Food Incorporated a couple years ago, a documentary, and that's where most of those are GMO products. And if you want the organic, well, a lot of them are. But what I'm saying is, a lot of the organic products you either can't find them in these places, or you have to go to somewhere like Whole Foods down in Mountain Brook where the prices are sky high.
Exactly.
And so my question is, how do we get this organic? How do we get the prices down? And how do we get them into the average supermarket where they can be afforded for the average Joe?
Well, it doesn't cost any more to grow organic than it does to others. It's just a little bit more labor intensive. Now you've got to figure out what is organic to start with, you know, and then you work up from the soil up to there. So how do we get it down? It's supply and demand, and because farmers today can't make a living anyway. I mean, that bad. I had a farmer tell me, he says, you need a damn good job if you're going to be a farmer. Well, yeah, it used to be we'd have our kids coming behind us if we were farmers, and they'd want to take over the family farm. Can't do it. They had more money and can't feed 2 families to start with when they get out of college. So they got their degree at Auburn, and they come to farm. Can't make a living, so they go to the city, get a job. Then the parents die. They come back to farm. They can't pay the taxes, the death taxes. You know, it's a death spiral here. If anybody needs to get away from the death tax, it's the farming community. Because the only asset they have is their land. And the land's been passed down from years to years to years to years to the different family members. And what's happening, it used to be what's happening, you'd have urban sprawl eating up everything out there at outrageous prices. And that slowed down a little bit, but still, this administration just driving people to the inner city.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Now. How much food do the grocery stores keep? In other words, how long would it take them to shut down the interstates and we'd run out of food?
24 hours.
It's being in the retail business, it's called just-in-time delivery. Because it's perishable. Everything in the produce section is perishable, big time. Can section, you can last a good while there.
3 days.
3 days. 3 days. So it's it's a ticklish situation. Now, yes, sir.
If you talk to Cargill or Monsanto or some of the DuPont, some of the seed manufacturers, they'll tell you the cat's out of the bag. That even though you're labeling it, it's in the fields, it's crossed, it's everywhere. So there would be no sense in labeling it at this point, because you can't get rid of it now.
Well, once GMOs are turned loose in the environment, you can't bring them back.
No.
You can't.
No.
And what's happening is, even blown across field to field, and then Monsanto sues you for your seed coming up over there. And now with this physical cliff, Monsanto is trying to get the Monsanto Act in there that they don't have to do or label or tell you anything. Read that one. Now, if they don't have to tell you anything can be done to you. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. What I'm trying to do, and the reason we're doing this blog and writing these articles, not only on GMOs but also other things, is that it's time for the people who want to wake up to know what's going on. It's not just the groupies and the vegans. That's what vegans. I wonder why it's vegans when you say vegetables. Why ain't it vegans? You know. So beats me, man. So anyway, it's just not them or the people who don't eat the meat and that sort of thing. You know, the only thing that I can say, and I say in the article right there, is eat as few GMOs that you know about. Now I'll tell you about the label in just a second. Take as many vitamins as you can. I take a passel full of vitamins. They say, well, you know, that's chemically made and that sort of thing. But at least you can read the label and see what's in there. I eat as little processed food and processed oil as I possibly can. And as much comes out of our little garden as we can get. And Kathy's starving me to death. Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity.
Turn green.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
You got Monsanto making us sick, keeping us sick.
Yeah.
There's got to be an ulterior motive somewhere. If their idea is to make us sick, that means we're going to need more pills, going to have to go to the doctor, pharmaceutical companies are going to make more money.
Well,
There's got to be an ulterior motive.
there is an ulterior motive. It gets back to the 21, the Illuminatis and that sort of thing. I know so much about that, it would take forever to talk about it. But what it gets down to is that 9 families have decided there's too many people in the world, going to be a hell of a lot more people. Okay? And if we can make, from not only from the monetary standpoint of making money, and you see the drug companies, and even this article I've written right there, I say, you know, I keep coming back to these commercials, these drug commercials on TV. By the time they get through with their disclaimers, you know, it's, and you know, well, you know, that's about it. You know, the time they get through with that thing, you just wonder if you take that, then you're going to have to take something for the side effects of the pill you just took for the side effects of the other pill, and pretty soon you got nothing but pills there. And it kind of reminds me, in what we're talking about right here, all this got started when a company made a product that would kill grass and weeds and most any foliage it touched. And that product was so profitable, and they had such a lock on it, and y'all know what I'm talking about, is that they said, well, what if we could use it out in the crop fields? Okay. Well, if we put it on our corn, it's going to die. What do we have to do? Well, we've got to build a seed, a super seed, that will resist it. So they built a super seed that would resist it. It's called a GMO, you see. Now, if they're going to do that, going back from the commercials on TV, do you then need to build a chemical product to combat the side effects of the GMO that's probably going to come, that they don't want labeled, by the way? So, but you have to remember, this all started with one profitable product that kills grass, weeds, and most anything it touches. What is it doing to you when the seeds are in the ground and the herbicide and they're drenched in this product that kills weeds and stuff? Get back to that allergy thing I was talking about. Yes, sir.
Regarding the cotton price discrepancy,
Yeah.
is there any agricultural regulations that would stop either an entrepreneur or a farming co-op importing or turning seed importing company and taking advantage of the arbitrage between pricing discrepancies?
It's patent protection.
It's the same product. They sell the product, you buy right up for selling first product.
Yeah, just bring it in. I've asked that same question. You know, why can't you get it? Yes, sir.
It's the same reason why it's illegal to go to Canada or Nigeria and buy drugs, and you can buy for pennies on the dollar, that some person here needs it to live, they're going to stop a day of supply for $500. It's because the law has said in the U.S. that patent protection, to make as much money as you can make.
Well, that is exactly, and if Monsanto gets this passed through, there's several, and just this week, the Justice Department just dismissed the Monsanto investigation. Wow, with no fanfare and no answer to it. Yes, sir.
Hi, Dale. Russ Calling, Alabama. And at the risk of sounding like a vast right-wing conspiracy theorist, I believe a lot of things. I'm a passionate man, and I do believe that the love of money is the root of all evil. And we've basically been talking about this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
We've got the GMOs, that's killing us and making us sick. We've got the drug manufacturers out there telling us we can't live without this stuff. We're going to have it every day for the rest of our lives. You want to go stasis because you got dry eyes? I'll kick you in the knee. Give me a buck. We do have the global elitists. You know, Ted Turner's one of them. You know, that believe that the population has to go away. So they're getting us sick. They're giving us pills. They're going to get us sick. And now we have Obamacare. My question, bottom line, is this.
But they got the council will let you know how many
What are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to go broke trying to buy heirloom seeds, or should we get on the internet and order some from Russia?
Do what you want to, but
I need information from you.
yeah, you know, it's kind of like we stocking up on bullets, you know, about the same thing. So,
nobody in this room doing that.
but what, and Kathy would get on to me this, but every time I go to Sam's or somebody or right there, and the cans are better, we drag a big can of something in, put it in the closet. You don't know what's going to happen. If the world doesn't come to an end on the 21st of this month, it might come to the end on the 31st. Okay? No. They know. We just have to see. Maybe his pencil ran out or something. You know? So what we're having to look at here is we're living in a world of uncertainty.
Yes, sir.
And what do we do? What do we do? We just grapple it. And if we had more people than the 50 or 60 we had here tonight, and we had a media service that would let everyone understand what was going on, which we don't because they're run by the side that is controlling all the other stuff, you see. And even Fox is not doing as good a job as they used to do. So, yeah, and Glenn Beck's out there with the blaze, and I'd like to start a little blaze, you know, kind of like that in Alabama. Amen. You know, I'm passionate about Alabama, and I'm passionate about a lot. I've been a businessman. I've been on both sides of the farming issue right there, and I've done a little bit of everything in my life. And I guess what it boils down to, big guys, and what we're talking about here is that when we get older and we've retired, we have our grandchildren, and it's time, like Kathy and I say, this state's been good to us, and this country has made it all possible. So it's time to pay back. And I'm going to do something in politics again, try to. They don't want me. I'm just going to keep on trying. So the thing about that is that we're not, and I hope there'll be other folks out there in the business community that will try to do something and penetrate this politic bubble, is that we're not looking for a career. We've had several. We're looking to make a difference. And that's exactly why Kathy did what she did with the Public Service Commission. That's why I did as Ag Man. And we might have not won, but we didn't lose. And we're going to do something again. We're not going away. Thank you, guys.